everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by Whoop. Make sure to check out the description below to join our team or sign up to get a free strap and an extra month's membership with our link. On today's episode, we have CrossFit Games agent Cooper Marsh and CrossFit Games coach Michele Letendre here to discuss whether Games athletes need to be full-time competitors at this stage in the sport. Cooper, let's start with you. You're managing athletes like Danielle Brandon, Bethany Shadburn, Amanda Barnhart, Dallin Pepper, and Fee Saghafi. I think that they're all full-time athletes now, but that wasn't always the case. So how have you seen some of those athletes' performances change since they were able to transition to focus fully on CrossFit?
Yeah, no, I think some of these athletes, the five that you listed, four of them are full time. Fee still works a little bit coaching and is trying to work her way and get things set up so that she can be full time in her training. Since I started working with them, they've all blossomed as athletes once they were able to make that transition because they were able to save that energy that would be put into other things to be able to remain as competitive as possible.
I mean, even when you see that Fee is doing the last chance qualifier, do you think that, I mean, it's hard to really predict the outcome if she was a full-time athlete in that situation, but do you think that that is a variable at this stage in the game for her?
Yeah, I think Fee is a CrossFit Games caliber athlete, 100%. She manages her time very well, and I think that that's the thing that speaks volumes to her potential as an athlete. But if you were able to clear up even more time to be able to dedicate to this, I think she would just be that much more dangerous.
Sure. And Michele, as a former competitor yourself, what is the impact that you've probably seen firsthand when you look at Games athletes on the field that are full-time versus part-time?
Um, I was never a full-time athlete. I've always kind of worked, and that was actually a choice. And I think to answer the question really directly, it definitely is beneficial to most people to go full-time if you are good at managing your efforts and your focus. But I also coach Patrick Vellner, who's never done this full-time, and I don't think he would perform any better if he did drop everything else. I think he manages his time very well, and I think he's the kind of person that just needs different outlets in his life to be able to go all in each of them and have compartmentalized time. So it really is, it's athlete dependent. I have a tendency to say, I mean, obviously full-time work and full-time athlete is just really the worst case scenario. But if you can manage part-time work in a way that just allows you to have a little bit of time that's outside of your routine and your job and everything that you do in the gym, I think that could be beneficial as well. It just depends on what success is for the athletes and what they want to do with their careers.
And I want to stay with that. Speaking of Pat Vellner, obviously he's a top level athlete. He's on the podium last year. When you look at him, who is able to balance this work with being a CrossFit athlete, how does like the stresses that come with a job though impact some of his training? Or do you think that he really has it all dialed in to make sure that there truly is a balance?
Like like everyone, not everyone is 100% dialed in. Like you only can juggle so many balls, right? When his job, or more when he was in school, when that was taking up a lot of his time and his intellectual focus, we would kind of let go of some of the training stress, not time, but intensity. So it's manageable if you communicate with your coaches and your team and your entourage really well. And we just have to be accepting of the athlete's choices in that. But Patrick manages his time expertly. He also is very good at communicating what's going on. And when, I've been through kind of the same deal, and I know that certain training sessions will take a bigger toll, and working on weaknesses when you're already really strained and stressed out from school isn't a good idea usually. So we talk to each other and we manage it really well. And like I said, Pat is just very straight up with how he needs to deal with things, and he doesn't take things personally when tougher times come. So when you don't take that kind of stuff personally, and you understand that letting go of one part of that busy life, whether it's training or it's work, depending on the time, then people can manage that well.
Cooper, when it comes sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to add on to that, yeah, I think Pat is the exception in that realm, right? Like, there are a few athletes, you could probably count them on 3 fingers, that can manage to work and still be podium contenders. Because I think for some of them, right, heard from Pat about this before. He's talked about how it is an outlet and it's a way to kind of like transition his energy into something else, so that it's not always just so focused on the mundane training, right? But I think if you want to be as competitive as possible, it is, for the majority, 99% of people, being able to be full-time is going to be the best route for that. But it is 100% doable if you are an expert at managing your time.
So then, do we think that there are any other athletes that could pull off a Vellner and get to the podium and be working and doing CrossFit?
I would like to hope that somebody can do it, because then it would give people a lot of motivation and something to kind of look up to and strive towards, because we can all be better with how we manage our time in life, right? But besides Vellner, I'm not sure I can name another athlete that has another job that is, you could legitimately say, could potentially win the CrossFit Games any year.
Well, I think it's a great point. I think that when you look at what athletes are doing, I mean, we can consider some of their content as work, and
True.
So I struggle to see where what is work exactly in this context. But I do agree with you. Patrick is definitely an exception to the rule. He's an example to follow if there are athletes out there that just can't let go of their income and their work, or who just really need to have that different part of their life. But yeah, when you look at the content that some of these athletes are creating and the work that goes into that kind of footage and that kind of just constant feed of videos, I can't imagine another word for that as work.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. And I think that's one of the things that just is inherent to the CrossFit space and being full-time, right? Because, if you look at CrossFitters, they don't have, and I say this with some of our traditional athletes that we work with, like traditional sport athletes, you have baseball guys that sign $100 million contracts and don't have an Instagram because they don't care, right? They have a batting average and they have, an on-base percentage, and they'll get paid a lot of money to do that. But with CrossFit, although you can win some good money if you're towards the top, right? If you're middle of the pack, the next statistic that you truly have is your following. It's your platform, right? And that's how you can monetize these brands. So it kind of becomes hand in hand with a full-time CrossFit athlete is, do you have a following to be able to monetize that? Because there are some athletes that aren't games athletes that are full-time athletes because of the fact that they make good money off their platform. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm kind of walking around it a little bit, but I think
there's other elements that play a part.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. But yeah, I think athletes can go to the CrossFit Games and still have full-time jobs, or they can, if you're the rare exception like Pat Vellner, then you can go and be competitive at the CrossFit Games and still be working a job. But I think for the overwhelming majority of competitive top 10 CrossFit Games athletes that are perennial, they're going to be full-time in CrossFit, which means they're going to be training a lot, and their only obligation is going to be via their social media platforms, I guess.
So Michele, with what you know about Pat through training, his personal life, he has a family, his work, what is it about him that allows him to be such a top competitor and still have the job, have a family, a child, all of these other things that normally people wouldn't sometimes even be in the top 10 at the games with all of that on their plate?
Well, Pat has a lot of talent. Like, he's got a naturally high baseline. And he's got an experience and an athletic baggage that goes way beyond CrossFit that really helped him kind of propel himself very quickly. But he's very, very thorough and meticulous. And when he gets into the gym, there's no minutes wasted. you know, to sometimes my dismay, he will lessen the rest between sections so that he can get through the work. And so he's very, very, he asks me all the questions beforehand so that once he's in the gym, it's very quick and organized and set, and then he's off to do his own things. Michele, his wife, is extremely supportive, and on top of all of this, they don't have childcare right now, so they're really working together, tag teaming their efforts. So, you know, there are some bits that he just can't get done, but it's timed. And if it's too long, he lets me know. And if he has to put some things on other days or anything, he lets me know. But he's just very, very good at being disciplined with his time. So starts the clock when he walks into the gym, gets pieces done, does his warm up before he gets to the gym at home in his garage when he waits for Michele to come home from, because she's a doctor. So she comes home from the hospital and then he gets off. So he's very, very efficient with his time like that.
Cooper, what's your bottom line? Do CrossFit Games athletes need to be full-time to be competitive?
Yes, except for Pat Vellner.
The one outlier.
Always one.
Yeah.
Michele, what's your bottom line?
I'm going to be a little bit less straight up this time, but I'm going to say yes and no. And really what it depends on is how you are as an athlete and how you want to navigate and what success means to you. So the best case scenario is always full-time. And if there is no such thing as the best case scenario because you want part-time work or you want work or other things, then you'll have to deal with the realities that comes with that choice. So, but it's always depending on what the athlete really wants out of his or her career.
All right, Michele, Cooper, thank you guys for a great conversation, and we will see you next time.
Thank
you.